When Michael turns away Jonathan Reid at the VIP lounge, assuming he doesn't fit the image of Grand Lux's elite clientele, he believes he's upholding the hotel's high standards. But during a critical staff meeting, Michael is stunned to learn that Jonathan is not just another guest but the hotel's new co-owner. The man he dismissed reveals his true identity, forcing Michael to confront his biases and the consequences of his actions. As Jonathan's leadership reshapes the culture of inclusivity at the Grand Lux, Michael is faced with a profound shift in power and perspective. The twist will leave you questioning the impact of assumptions and the power of growth and redemption. But before we dive in, leave a comment and let us know where you are watching from today. And if this story speaks to you, hit that subscribe button for more amazing stories. In the heart of the city's most luxurious neighborhood, the Grand Lux Hotel stood tall, its sleek architecture and shimmering glass exterior drawing admiration from all who passed by. Known for hosting celebrities, tycoons, and royalty, it prided itself on its impeccable service and exclusivity. Inside, the air was filled with soft music, the gentle clinking of glasses, and the murmurs of guests savoring the finest luxuries money could buy. In the hotel's famed VIP lounge, Michael Carter adjusted his blazer, his sharp eyes scanning the room. As the lounge manager, Michael was known for his perfectionism and no-nonsense approach. He ran the VIP section with precision, ensuring that only the most elite clientele gained entry. He took pride in maintaining its air of exclusivity, believing it was what kept the Grand Lux at the top of its game. This evening, the lounge was bustling with high-profile guests, from tech moguls to Hollywood stars. Michael was in his element, orchestrating the evening like a conductor guiding a symphony. He knew every guest by name and could recite their preferences without missing a beat. To him, the VIP lounge wasn't just a space, it was his stage, and he was determined to keep the performance flawless. As Michael reviewed the night's guest list, his attention was drawn to a man approaching the velvet rope. He wheeled himself forward in a sleek, custom wheelchair. His sharp suit and confident posture exuded sophistication, but Michael's eyes were drawn to his disability. He instinctively stepped forward, intercepting him before he reached the entrance. "Excuse me, sir," Michael said with a polite but firm smile. "This area is for VIP guests only." The man looked up at him, his expression calm and unwavering. "I'm aware. I have a reservation." Michael glanced at the guest list in his hand. "I'm sorry, but I don't see your name here. Perhaps you're mistaken." "I don't think so," the man replied, his voice steady. "The reservation is under Jonathan Reid." Michael's eyes flicked back to the list, and sure enough, the name was there. He hesitated, his gaze drifting back to the man. His tailored suit and polished demeanor hinted at affluence, but something about his presence made Michael doubt his legitimacy. "I see. But the VIP section has certain expectations. Are you sure this is the right place for you?" Jonathan raised an eyebrow, his tone growing colder. "Are you suggesting I don't belong here?" Michael's smile tightened. "Not at all. It's just that our VIP lounge caters to a very specific clientele." Jonathan studied him for a moment before leaning back in his chair. "If my reservation is in order, there shouldn't be a problem." But Michael stood firm. "I'm afraid the lounge is at capacity tonight. I can offer you a table in our main dining area instead." Jonathan's jaw tightened, but he nodded curtly. "Fine," he said, wheeling himself away. "I'll wait there." After Jonathan left, Michael returned to his duties, brushing off the encounter. He glanced at his staff, who had been watching the exchange with varying degrees of discomfort. "Why didn't you let him in?" one of the younger staff members whispered. Michael sighed. "Look, the VIP lounge is all about image. The guests come here expecting exclusivity and refinement. If he's out there instead of in here, it's better for everyone." The staff exchanged uneasy glances but said nothing. Michael, confident in his decision, continued managing the lounge, unaware of the storm that was brewing. The next morning, the hotel's general manager, Sarah Langston, called an emergency meeting. Michael, along with the rest of the staff, gathered in the conference room, curious about the urgency. As Sarah entered, her expression was unusually serious. "Last night, there was an incident in the VIP lounge that has come to my attention," she began. Michael's heart skipped a beat. Was this about Jonathan? "We had a guest turned away," Sarah continued. A guest who, I must remind you, had a legitimate reservation. Michael cleared his throat, standing to address the room. If I may, I believe I know who you're referring to. There were certain considerations that needed to be made for the lounge's atmosphere. Sarah's eyes narrowed. Do you know who that guest was, Michael? He said his name was Jonathan Reid, Michael replied. I assumed he was a regular patron. You assumed wrong, Sarah said, her voice sharp. Jonathan Reid is the new co-owner of the Grand Lux. The room fell into stunned silence. Michael felt the blood drain from his face as Sarah's words sank in. Co-owner, he echoed, barely able to speak. Yes, Sarah confirmed. Jonathan Reid recently acquired a majority stake in the hotel. He is, in essence, your boss. Michael spent the rest of the day in a haze, replaying the previous night's events in his mind. That evening, he received a message from Sarah. Jonathan Reid wanted to see him. He arrived at Jonathan's private suite, his nerves on edge. When the door opened, Jonathan was seated by the window, the city skyline behind him. He gestured for Michael to sit. Mr. Reid, I want to apologize for last night, Michael began, his voice trembling. I didn't realize, Jonathan held up a hand, cutting him off. You didn't realize who I was. I understand that. But what bothers me is why you thought it was acceptable to turn me away in the first place. Michael struggled for words. I was trying to maintain the lounge's standards. Standards, Jonathan repeated, his tone laced with disdain. Tell me, Mr. Carter, what about me failed to meet your standards? Was it my wheelchair? Michael flushed, shame washing over him. No, of course not. I didn't mean. Then what did you mean? Jonathan pressed, his voice rising. Do you think your other guests would have been offended by my presence? Or was it you who felt uncomfortable? Tears stung Michael's eyes. I made a mistake, he admitted. I let my assumptions cloud my judgment. I'm sorry. Jonathan studied him for a long moment before leaning back in his chair. I appreciate your apology, but actions speak louder than words. Let's see if you can prove that you've learned from this. Over the next few weeks, Jonathan worked closely with the hotel staff, implementing changes to ensure that the Grand Lux lived up to its promise of inclusivity. He held workshops on diversity and sensitivity, encouraging the team to see their guests as individuals, not stereotypes. Michael, humbled by his experience, threw himself into the training. He worked harder than ever to earn Jonathan's trust, determined to prove that he could grow from his mistakes. Slowly, the atmosphere at the Grand Lux began to change. The staff became more mindful, the guests felt more welcome, and the hotel's reputation soared. Michael even began to notice how much more connected the team became, a sense of unity he hadn't seen before. To celebrate the hotel's transformation, Jonathan and Sarah organized a gala in the VIP Lounge. The guest list included celebrities, philanthropists, and community leaders, all eager to see the new direction the Grand Lux was taking. As the evening unfolded, Jonathan addressed the crowd. When I became co-owner of this hotel, I saw an opportunity to create something truly special, he said. A place where everyone feels valued and respected, no matter who they are or what they look like. The room erupted in applause, and Michael, standing at the back of the room, felt a sense of pride. He had been a part of this change, and it was a lesson he would carry with him for the rest of his life.